misconceptions.
All right, everyone. I guess we can start. Okay, let's hide the. Okay. Hello, welcome to my talk. I'm thrilled to be here. I'm very grateful for the organizers to invite me yet another time to Devoxx, Poland. I really enjoy this conference and Krakow. And I'm happy I can see a lot of you here, given that there are a lot of other sessions which are also interesting. So thank you very much for being here. So what I'm going to talk about and who am I? So I work for or with AR and VR technologies for last, I think, 8 years, 7 years. And why I came up with that talk is that I meet a lot of friends during conferences, parties, whatever, and I talk to them, and they often ask me what I do, right? It's a common thing, right? And whenever I mention that I'm still in VR and AR, they're usually like, hey, like, is it still a thing? Do you, like, is anything happening within that landscape? Because people are, I think, that's my opinion, that they're used to, you know, all the old videos of VR and Oculus Rift and all the demos they tried long time ago, and they think it's not moving forward. So I kept getting all these questions all the time, every single year. So my aim for this talk is just to put like an overview and story of how the VR and AR landscape looks like and how it evolved since the beginning of that era, I would say. So it's not going to be like a very thorough technical talk about, you know, technical specifics of headsets or the technology. It's rather an overview and seeing what's going on in that landscape. So my name is Rafał Legie, and I'm an XR development lead and transition technologies PSC. I work remotely, but my main office is in Łódź, Poland. My main responsibilities are designing, talking to the customers, and developing XR, meaning VR or AR applications for mainly manufacturing. So I'm not in like game dev industry or anything like that. Also, I'm an organizer and co-founder of the conference called DevConf. And also, I'm a mixed reality MVP from Microsoft. And if you want to ask me any questions afterward, just hit me up at my email, or you can find me on the internet, LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever works. So let's start with like very first misconceptions or misnaming within that field, because I think most common thing whenever I talk to customers, to other people about these technologies is that everyone names the very same thing differently. And all the big players, all the companies that are vendors, like they're producing hardware or software in that field, they tend to come up with different names for the very same thing so that they can distinguish themselves somehow, because, or to show that, hey, we did something new, but in fact they didn't, right? So, for example, Apple released Apple Vision Pro, and they came up with the name spatial computing for the thing that we have since like long time. Or Microsoft came up with HoloLens some time ago, and they came up with the term mixed reality, which is also the very same thing that we used to have, but for some reason, these companies are coming up with newer and newer names. Facebook, for example, Mark Zuckerberg, he liked very much the term metaverse. You probably remember that. They actually changed the company name to Meta so that it reflects that they do metaverse, right? Whatever that is. I mean, no one understood what that might be, and there is actually no definition of that word, because like everyone thinks it's a different thing, right? But all in all, if you think about it, and you're in that industry for sometimes, it's actually the very same thing. They're all doing the same thing. And there's this one umbrella term that I like to use. It's still like, it's something I like to use. It's also like not everyone is using it, but whenever I'm talking about it, I use XR, just from extended reality. That's it. And you can divide it to two words, virtual reality and augmented reality. And there's no reason to come up with anything new. But that probably doesn't work for the big companies. It's like most recent Apple keynote, not sure if you watched. I mean, they came up with the AI abbreviation. Do you know what AI means right now? Apple Intelligence, exactly. So they just had to do it, right? So, and that causes like more and more confusion, right? And it doesn't help. So that's one of the aims of my talks, and what I do whenever I talk at conferences is I explain it so that like we have this common ground for that technology. So with that division, we can have augmented reality and virtual reality. And then augmented reality is basically any experience that enhances reality. So you see your reality and you enhance it somehow, be it 2D images placed somewhere around your vicinity, or 3D holograms rendered somewhere there as well. Also, augmented reality could be achievable on common devices like mobile phones and tablets, right? Because you can simply use your iPhone or Android device, and with whatever the camera sees, we can display on the screen and then overlay some things on top of that. You must probably experience something like that already. And also, it gives you real-time interaction. So all the rendering is happening real-time, and it kind of interacts with your physical surroundings. So be it a phone, augmented reality, or the glasses like Magic Leap 2, it's all augmented reality. And then virtual reality. Virtual reality is something which is more immersive, or like fully immersive, because if you want to really feel that you're in that virtual environment, you have to kind of engage multiple senses, and you have to trick your mind that you're not here but somewhere else. So that usually requires more specialized hardware, and it used to be expensive, but it's not anymore, and that's something I'm going to show you. So for example, like Apple Vision Pro, that's a VR headset and also an AR headset. I'm going to show you it later. Why is that? Because it's a fully immersive device, but it's packed with cameras so that you can do like a video pass-through and then render stuff on top of that, and it's an augmented reality device as well. So this distinction to augmented reality and virtual reality is kind of enough, especially that we can see this trend that companies are rather coming up with hardware that tries to blend these two together. So eventually, I think we'll end up with one device which you would be able to use in two modes, like VR and AR. And that's actually happening right now, like with Apple Vision Pro, for example. So, given that, let's quickly go through the XR timeline, as I like to call it. Meaning, okay, when it started happening, like the whole movement of AR and VR, and also what were the actual devices or software releases during that time. So, if you're old enough, you might remember that, okay, we had VR a long time ago. And there are people who likes to claim that okay, it's not a new thing. They tried something in the 90s, they tried something in the 80s, even Nintendo released Virtual Boy like long time ago, and it was like the first commonly accessible VR headset. But I'm like not counting that. That was like super Wild West. Like these were concepts. But the real beginning, in my opinion, happened somewhere around 2014 when Google released Google Glasses. How many of you remember that? Google Glasses? 1 person, 2, 3, 4. That's quite a lot. You're old enough, I think. And so, and the hype was real, right? I mean, if you remember that, then the hype that Google was doing, was making with Google Glasses was kind of huge, right? Like everyone was excited about it, like everyone in technology, I guess. And it was meant to like change the way we interact with our physical world, and we'll have all the assistants in front of our eyes, etc. So that's why I like to call this timeline, I mean, the beginning of the timeline, like the beginning of like before Google Glass and then after Google Glass, because that's when like more and more people started seeing this kind of technology. So that was around 2014. That was when Google Glasses were released. And if you remember that didn't last very long, because I think technology wasn't there and the society wasn't there. I mean, this whole idea of someone wearing a camera somewhere here and walking through the city or within a crowd and like recording people and so that they don't know that they're being recorded was kind of weird. There actually came up, like people came up with the name for the people wearing Google Glasses in the public, and they called them glass holes, if you remember that. And I think it's a very interesting observation, because if you fast forward 10 years to 2024 right now, it's like, you remember that was 2014. We didn't have like TikTok, Snapchat, all these crazy shorts, videos, and people recording every single situation on the street, right? So people were really felt awkward whenever someone was out there with a camera and shooting some videos, whenever, in every occasion. But right now, I think, I'm not claiming, far from it, that it's a good thing, but I think society kind of changed so that we're not afraid of these cameras anymore, right? So that's one change. And the other change is technology. I mean, 10 years in technology is a huge a part of chunk of time. So yes, that didn't click because that was way too early. It was fine concept, was way too early. Then, if you remember Oculus Rift, the very first one, are there like people old enough who tried DK1, DK2, and then Oculus Rift first version? So that was a Kickstarter company, which was then, after the quite a big success, acquired by Facebook. And it was Oculus, the name of the company. They come up with this fine headset, which was kind of bulky. It had headphones, it had some external trackers so that you had to have them around yourself to track your movements. And it was a pretty big deal. But it required a pretty powerful computer that had to sit next to you. You had to connect it, you had to set up your environment with the external trackers, and then you could start playing. But that was a kind of the big thing, because it kind of unlocked VR for the common person. Then, in the very same year, Microsoft came up with HoloLens first version. Does anyone try that? No. Okay. Did you know about that before I told you? Okay, some people are nodding heads. Okay, so that's fine. I always ask these questions because I just need to know or want to know, okay, how this information spread, because it's not that obvious that people know about what's happening with this technology. Okay, so this is when I actually started working in AR and VR, or in XR, I should say, in 2017, when I first got HoloLens 1 at the company I used to work for. And that was a wonderful piece of device. It wasn't cheap because I was around $3,000. So it wasn't a mainstream device with a bunch of games so that every kid could buy and play, but rather a device that was targeted to enterprises and manufacturing industry. And the thing was that I was, back then I was front-end and mobile developer. So I was doing like my main responsibilities were just business apps for factories, for banks, stuff like that, regular stuff. And then I was like, that can change everything, right? So I got my hands on that and started developing for that device. And believe me or not, I actually managed to deliver like several apps for customers in 2017 for this device, and there were companies that were actually also embracing this technology, and it actually happened, and people were and still are earning money out of this. So this is for you to know that it's not a gimmick. You can actually do stuff for these devices, and it's going on since like last 7 years at least. Then 2016 also brought us PlayStation VR. That was a very popular device, and you probably used it, right? How many people used it? Okay, yes. Because that was something that just needed your PlayStation 4 Pro, and you had like games commonly accessible, and that's it. I think that was a pretty big success when it comes to numbers of units sold, around 5 million, as far as I remember. Then 2017 happened, and Microsoft came up with something really weird. Like probably no one heard about this, only people that were actually using their technologies. Have you heard about Windows Mixed Reality VR headsets? I thought so. So the thing was that they partnered with companies like HP, Lenovo, Acer, etc., and they released a bunch of VR headsets. But the big differentiator here was, I mean, they called it Windows Mixed Reality, which like confused everyone, because these headsets, you can't see it here, they started to have cameras. These were VR headsets, but they started to have cameras in front of the case. And like everyone, when they saw the pictures, they were like, okay, so is it going to be like video pass-through so that we see everything inside, and then we'll render something on top of that, and it's going to be an AR device, but in a VR case, something that is happening right now, for example, like with Apple Vision Pro. But no, what they did for the very first time and went mainstream was they got rid of all the external trackers for the VR headsets. Where, if you remember when I was talking about Oculus Rift, they required the external satellites so that you set up against them so that they know what you're doing and what your hands are doing and where is your head in the environment. What they did with this was the headset was tracking everything around you, right? So this was technology kind of that they brought from HoloLens, and they put cameras in the headset, and all of a sudden, you didn't have to have satellites around you. So the setup of your room was like you just put in your headset. Of course, you still needed the computer, the external PC that you plugged it into, but they got rid of the satellites. And the other very common headset with the external satellites was HTC Vive. You might know that was pretty popular back then, but it needed like satellites even that you didn't put on your desk, but rather you had to have this long, like tall lighthouses, and then you had to put it somewhere in your room. And then 2017, Apple released their very first version of Apple AR Kit, which is a software package that unlocked us a possibility to create augmented reality experiences for tablets and phones, for iPads and iPhones. Have you ever tried any of these on your iPhone? Not? Yes? Okay. Then 2017 also brought us a company called RealWear, and they created this really small device that is like strictly targeted to manufacturing, oil and gas, aviation, and all the very restrictive work environments. And that was a big deal as well. And we're still developing transition technologies for this device. We actually even have a dedicated product for this device. It's a very simple one. It does have a camera here, and it displays the video stream of the camera here. That's just a video display in front of your eye. Nothing very fancy, but it's small, and you can actually throw it. You can drop it from 2 meters or 3 meters, and it won't break. There's a version, the red one, that you can even, it's an ATEX version, so you can bring it to the explosive environment because it doesn't give a spark, so you won't explode. So you can do augmented reality on it because you have the video stream here, and you can process it and display this processed video stream here and help the engineer doing the work. Have you ever seen this one? And they're still releasing like newer and newer versions, but it's like they doesn't differ much. It's like more computing power, slightly bigger screen. That's it. And then 2018 brought us Magic Leap. That was a startup, and they came up with a pretty wonderful piece of device. It was very similar to HoloLens, like the technology under the hood was very similar. They software-wise, they approached it from a slightly different angle because HoloLens was like based on an actual Windows 10, which actually helped developing software for it because that was basically Windows. And with this, they came up with some sort of Linux distribution, which was called Lumin OS. And that was kind of like, that was not helping them, I would say. They actually, right now, they have there's a second iteration of this device, and I have it here with me if you'd like to try it afterwards. And although the first version wasn't a big success, but they managed to gather enough money to actually start working on the second iteration. And actually, the second iteration is I think, the go-to augmented reality device right now on the market. 2018 also brought us Google AR Core. That's the very similar thing like I've just shown you with from Apple, but that's from Google for delivering augmented reality experiences for Google phones and tablets. 2019 brought us HoloLens 2. Did anyone use it ever? Oh, wow. Have you heard about it? Some yes, some no. Okay, that was the second iteration. Like everyone in my like industry where I was like in the XR world was waiting for it like pretty eagerly because we had like lists of things we like about HoloLens 1 and things we didn't like about HoloLens 1, and we were like hoping that they're gonna fix all of them. And we're gonna rule the world with this device. So yes, I mean they fixed some, but they broke something else. So it was still a very good device, but it had its quirks and well wasn't like perfect. But still, me and other companies I know we delivered a lot of software and solutions for this device. Then 2019, that was after Meta or Facebook back then acquired Oculus already. What they did was, I think, one of the best things that happened in the VR world within that timeline was that they iterated Oculus Rift and they created Oculus Quest, which you might be familiar with because that's like the most popular headset ever right now. But what they did is they actually got rid of the computer, so it's a standalone headset. You just have the headset to play your games. And also what the approach they took with that device is they released the hardware, which is not very expensive, not anymore, and they have a pretty strict, regular update schedule. So even if the the device and the system doesn't have some features at the very beginning, literally every month or every second month, they unlock newer and newer features. And that's pretty amazing because I don't think like anyone with like even phones on the phone market like iOS or Android no one does that, right? On the operational system level. So for example, whenever you bought Oculus Quest 1, it does have the controllers, and like few months later, all of a sudden with the update, they unlocked hand tracking. So that's what the picture depicts. And that was a big deal because all of a sudden you have this standalone headset and you can put out your controllers. And also developers, they started, they did get the access to SDK and stuff like that. Afterwards, the other major feature was like they unlocked the experimental pass-through mode so that you could start delivering AR experiences on this VR headset. It was in black and white, but still you were able to experience that and start working on solutions like that. And also they another feature which is pretty cool. They delivered AirPlay. So you could stream your VR games from your computer if you have powerful computer, and you'd like to stream a VR game to your headset, you could do this without the cable. Then, next interesting thing that happened, like I think it took them 1.5 years to deliver to the market the very second iteration of Oculus Quest. And this device is, I think, until now, the best price to quality product, VR product out there on the market, like without a doubt. It's lighter, it's cheaper, it's better, that's it. I mean, if you would like to start with VR, or if you would like to buy a VR headset to your kids, or entry-level VR headset, just go there, Quest 2, period. 2021, another interesting thing, and another interesting thing from Meta. If you notice, it's like the third slide about Meta, is they partnered with Ray-Ban. And not sure if you heard about it, but they created Ray-Ban Stories, which is not an augmented reality device, but these are regular Ray-Ban glasses, right? Wayfarers. But they have cameras and they have some computing unit inside. So you can actually shoot your stories or reels video with that. And it also has have some kind of speakers inside. So although it's not AR nor VR, but I think what Meta is doing, they're approaching the problem with two angles. One is start with a bulky VR device and let's make it an AR device, which is smaller, cheaper, and more handy and more powerful. But on the other hand, let's partner with a regular glasses manufacturer and start putting technology there. And maybe they will meet somewhere in the middle. That's my theory. But they actually came up with the second iteration of that. So maybe something is going on. Then, year later, they released Quest Pro. Not sure if you heard about it. It's just better Quest 2. It does have more power. It has eye tracking, so actually you can track movement of your eyeballs. And another interesting thing happened here when it comes to hardware advancement is that the controllers, they don't have anymore the round things around them, which makes the controllers smaller. And how they achieve that? They put cameras to the controllers as well. So every controller has 2 cameras and controller tracks itself. So it doesn't require a headset to track the controller, but rather the controller is tracking themselves. So you have tracking device here, here, and here. So the quality of the tracking of the movement is quite good here. But it wasn't cheap. I think it was something around 1,700 euro. 2022 brought us Magic Leap 2. That's something I already mentioned. That's this device. It's pretty lightweight, and it's also targeted to manufacturing, aviation, oil and gas, stuff like that. Actually, right now, I'm involved in 2 projects. One is for oil and gas industry, and the other one is for shipyard shipping industry, and they both want software being developed for this. The thing is, they took a pretty different approach than everyone. So they made the headset lighter, smaller, and it's quite comfortable actually. And they put the computing unit here. That's quite heavy, but you can put it somewhere here. You still have a cable, which is not that handy, but you can get used to it. But you don't have a lot of weight on your head. So that's the most important thing. And all the batteries and like heat is coming here. So that's just different approach, but it works. Other interesting thing is that whenever you're releasing glasses like that, you have to think about one thing, that you have to be able to wear it with the hard hat, right? If you can't, like VisionPro, then it's like a no-go for manufacturing or any like refineries, shipyards, and stuff like that. 2023, Meta again. They released Quest 3, which is like excellent device. It's more expensive than Quest 2, but it's just better. If you'd like a good VR device, slightly more expensive, Quest 3, no doubt. Just don't look at anything else. 2023 also brought us PlayStation VR 2, second iteration from Sony, but I think they're pretty late to the game already. And if you can see the controllers, they're pretty bulky. You don't have integrated speakers, so you have to have your headphones, and the whole headset is also bulkier. So, sorry, Sony. Maybe next time. And 2024, you probably heard about it because it was hard to not to hear about it, I think. Like, how many of you have heard about Apple Vision Pro? Like 100%, I guess. Exactly. Because like internet was full of these weird videos of people doing weird stuff, like jumping parachutes or driving a car wearing Apple Vision Pro. And yes, my like peers or people I work with or companies I deliver XR projects to or people within XR community, we were waiting for Apple's move for a very long time because like we are pretty sure they're gonna do that move. And we all thought that they're gonna nail it. They're gonna solve every single problem that we had with the previous headsets because, well, that's Apple, right? I'm an Apple fanboy, and I really believe that they would fix it. But what they did, well, they didn't. They didn't fix any of the problems, but they introduced some very interesting device, which is very expensive, and basically you can't use it like anywhere outside your home. Maybe not now. You can use it on the plane, on the train, but meaning outside home, like on the factory floor or in the refinery or in places like that. Like very first thing, like very stupid thing. It's like whenever you get off your headset, what you usually do, you grab your headsets like that, right? Like somewhere here. But what they did is they used magnets for attaching this. So whenever you get off your headset and you're unlucky, you can do this and the headset falls down. So I can imagine this scenario on the very first try on the factory floor. And that sounds like a very expensive accident. So that's only one thing that it doesn't, it wouldn't work for the manufacturing or enterprise, I would say. But the interesting thing is that it's Apple, and the track record of Apple is that whenever they're introducing the product, right? If you think about it historically, how many times they killed the product? Like, I don't remember that thing. I mean, they killed iPod because, I mean, there was no reason to have an iPod anymore, right? But it's not like Google. I mean, I'm not hating Google, but Google is known for like killing services, right? Or products, but Apple is not. So my hopes here is that, okay, they entered the game officially, Maybe it's not perfect, like Apple Watch wasn't perfect, the first one, the iPad wasn't perfect with the first version, but they entered the market, so they're gonna iterate this product. And already at WWDC, they announced that they have like update Vision OS 2 for Apple Vision Pro, and we can see they work on that. So to sum it all, if you would ask me, okay, which devices should I start with? What should I use for my next AR, VR project, right? Where shall I invest? Or maybe a customer is asking you, okay, what do you know when it comes to hardware? I would say this. If you want like accessible VR, Quest 3, right? I mean, I'm talking about like enterprise solutions. I'm not talking about like getting one for home. Quest 3, if you'd like to try new things and you're on the Apple environment, Vision Pro, right? And if you have money. If you'd like a head-worn device that is an AR, optical pass-through, Magic Leap 2. You could get HoloLens 2 still, but it's like Microsoft I think they ceased the production, so it's like limited number of these devices out there. These ones you can actually order and like have a pool of devices for your customer, for example. And also iPhones beginning from iPhone 12 Pro, they installed LiDAR sensor so that device, when it comes to augmented reality experiences, can track your environment, I think, in the best way if you would compare it to anything else. Like no Magic Leap, no HoloLens, they can't track your environment in the same quality as iPhone since 12 Pro does, as well as Apple Vision Pro, because it does have a LiDAR sensor as well. Interesting thing is that if you know Apple technology, Apple Vision Pro has M2 chip on board, so that's pretty powerful device. So it's like basically like MacBook, right? Or iPad. Okay, if you'd ask me which one I use, which I play with, which devices I use for games or for work, I just use all of them. The big disadvantage is that they take a lot of place. So, that should be different slide. Okay, this slide. So yeah, it's like every single Quest, HoloLens 2. I don't have HoloLens 1 anymore and Magic Leap 1, but these are the ones I still have and use sometimes. Okay, then misconceptions. Let's go deeper. So many people think, I mean, more common misconceptions. Many people think that, okay, this is only for gaming. Like, you can't deliver business apps for these devices. Well, as I already mentioned, you can. So that's, for example, one of the projects. That's a concept of a project that we're delivering for shipping industry, for shipyards, where you can actually, we're detecting endings of the pipings, right? And if we can actually detect an exact position in space of one ending and the second ending, right? Then we scan it and we can export that to the CAD project, right? And in real time, an engineer can actually draw a piece of piping that connects these two places, and I can render it back on the glasses. And that works on Magic Leap 2 actually. The video actually shows us the scenario of taking measurements, because because one of the scenarios is like we need to take a pretty accurate measurement between two pieces of pipings. so that we can export it and create something on top of that. And that was a situation I was testing how accurate were the measurements, and actually it was accurate enough so that you can use it in production. So the tracking of these devices is pretty good. The only thing we had to add is like this, the marking round things so that we can detect the actual shape. Okay, so imagine, so this one of the scenarios that we are solving with that, the original scenario, was whenever there is a shipyard in Germany where they produce big cruise ships, and whenever you assemble these big cruise ships, you build it with the modules, and then you have to connect these modules with pipes. That's one of the things, and you have this kind of ending of the pipe here and something here, and it's not standardized at all. I mean, modules might be standard, but these connections are not standard. So what they have, for example, is they use sticks, like they create sticks connections, like, and they measure angles, like physically, and then they kind of take note of all of that, and then someone in CAD can create this piece of piping so that it can come with one piece. But the other scenario was even weirder, because there was a welder guy with a welding machine with a piece of piping, shorter ones, and that guy was actually welding the real pipe. Like this pipe that is here actually came from the shipyard. That was created by this guy that was connecting two things. And then when he welds that piece of piping, then they send it to the engineer that recreated the very same pipe but in CAD, so that they can create another one, but not the welded one, but the one-piece one out of that CAD drawing, you know? So you can imagine how many steps we are solving with that, because right now I can have these two ending of the pipe detected, and I can export the relative position to CAD project, and then create the piping, and then I have this project. So the measurements were to check if I export it and create the pipe out of this export, if that pipe would actually fit, right? So we eliminated the welder, all the scrap, and all the time that was needed to create this prototype, right? You can have, there is a tolerance. I'm not familiar with the exact numbers, but they said, the guys from the shipping industry, they said they could be off a little bit, because what you do, you put like a rubbery thing between them, so that you can work on that offset, and it doesn't have to be like a millimeter precision and fit like super exactly. Another thing, that's for the shipyard in Croatia. It's for the laser welders, so that they need, with the laser welding machine, you have to have the correct angle of the pistol, welding pistol, and you have to keep the exact pace of the welding. So we did this a prototype of a software that helps fresh welders to learn how to move your hand, to see what kind of speed you have to, what pace you have to have with your gun, and what angle you have to have. So we detect the edge, which has to be welded, and then we render a mark with an angle, so that you just stick your welding gun to this, and that's, by the way, on HoloLens 2 device. So you see everything around you, and then you have stuff rendered in front of your eyes. So then you click start, and that mark goes with an exact pace through that edge, so that you can, what you need, you have to exactly keep the pace with the gun, right? And that prototype was to check if the blast that is coming from the welding gun, it's not from that on that video, but that was to check if the blast for the welding gun doesn't break the tracking. It's like a simulator that you overlay on the real piece of steel things, and then you enter play, and it shows you how to do it. And then you can just do it by mimicking what it's showing you. Not yet. We'll see. It's all prototypes, so we still don't know when it comes to this project how it would work like in the field for like more than a few months or years, right? But this is something there is actual need for. I mean, the industries like that, they seek for solutions that will help them streamline some processes or automate some processes or teach new workforce to perform stuff quicker. Another misconception. Stuff like that cause motion sickness in everyone. Well, that's a very common thing, like people claiming, hey, I don't use it, I tried it once, my head hurt or whatever like that. Well, it's not like if you experience motion sickness in one scenario, you will have it every single time. If you experienced it on very first Oculus Rift, that's a very big difference from Oculus Rift very first version and something that we have right now 20 years later, because we as an industry, we learned how to deliver these experiences in a better way. VR and AR are the same. I have to kind of speed up. Well, you already know it's not, but it's still a misconception out there. So with AR, you can experience stuff while not being blocked from your real environment. And also, for example, you could have these multiplier experiences so that you and your peers can work on the very same kind of 3D thing, but still you can see each other, can talk with each other, and then have this thing going on in front of you. So this is like a multiplayer project for Magic Leap 2. That's not mine, that's from Magic Leap, the video, I mean. And VR is where you're fully immersed and you're like 100% in some other artificial world. Do you know what game is that? Half-Life. Do you still wait for Half-Life 3? Who's waiting for Half-Life 3? Exactly. There you go. Me too. That was a pretty bold move, wasn't it? Because that was, I think, 4 years ago, right? And VR wasn't still, and still it's not that mainstream, especially with like high fidelity AAA games. But what Valve did, they released Half-Life for VR, which is a wonderful game, to be honest. And yeah, they're too expensive. Well, I already told you they're not, because Quest 2 is like, I think 250. It could be euros. It could be even cheaper right now, and you can have second hands even cheaper, and it's really worth. They're isolating technologies. They're not. When it comes to AR, they're not isolating because, well, you can still have contact with your environment. But when it comes to VR, there are newer and newer approaches, like what we can have with Apple Vision Pro is that when you're in this VR experience, when you're blocked from everything, first thing is that you can actually use the crown to like enter and exit this VR mode. And also they have tricks like whenever there's a person next to you and that person talks to you and you're close enough and you look toward that person would appear in that VR environment, which is pretty amazing. So companies are working on how to get rid of these things that weren't comfortable. They have reached their full potential. So we might think, okay, I mean, what can you invent more when it comes to these technologies? Well, this is the list of the major design challenges for this technology, like glasses mainly. And when it's, someone called it, it's like playing n-dimensional chess, Meaning, if you would like to fix the field of view, make it better, then you probably have to sacrifice something else. So you pull here, but you have to lose here. And you can actually see it. If you would like to make a device lighter, like this, you have to have a cable and a computing unit, right? Same here. If you would like to have your device lighter, well, it's not actually. You have to put your battery here. If you want to have a wide field of view, you have to have a bulkier headset. And it's all the things, the major things that are still not solved. And some of them, which are not listed here anymore, are already solved, as I shown you with the timeline, like hand tracking, like eye tracking, like there's no need for external trackers for the headsets anymore. So it's still happening. The pace is slower because of the form factor and the technology that is still not here, but it's slowly but steady going there. They require a lot of space. Well, that used to be a case, as I already explained. We used to have external trackers, right? So it was very hard to bring the device to your friend's home, for example, because, well, you had to do all the setup and space, etc. Right now, the headset does everything, and you can actually play in the area like that. Just you have to be aware of some objects around you. But even that, these like Quest, for example, Quest 3, Quest 2, they actually detect objects. So whenever the object is in your vicinity of where you play, they can actually show each other, or you would have some marks showing you that there is some obstacle here. Please don't hurt yourself. It's just fad. Well, it's not. They're getting more and more popular. Maybe you can't see it, but numbers on the market shows that more and more people buys the hardware. And actually, Meta is like the leader right now, and you could figure that out from the previous slides that they're really pushing that. How to get started? We're real developers. I don't have much time. I think we're past the time. I just wanted to show you that there are actually a lot of tools right now available for free so that you can start developing software for that. You can all start with Unity. You don't have to go for Unreal Engine or any specific game engines. Unity is free. It's pretty easy to learn. There's a lot of resources out there, and the community is also huge. So that's pretty good start. You have all the paths available on Unity Learn and certificates that you could do. That helps a lot. Also, there is something which is called AR Foundation, which is kind of a set of APIs that is built to be common for different platforms. So that, for example, you build once for Meta Quest, and then you could port very easily the same experience for VisionPro or ARKit, etc. And that's called AR Foundation. Also, there's MRTK Free, which is Mixed Reality Toolkit from Microsoft. It's a set of ready controls and UI elements so that you can pretty easily set up your game or application to look nice and actually use the features of your platform to full extent. So that, for example, you have ready objects for like grabbing stuff on HoloLens 2 and then displaying hand menu. So whenever you do this, there's a hand menu popping out from your hand, and it's all possible. Then Q&A. We can do it here, or we can do it outside. If you'd like to try one of these, feel free to catch me, and I'm eager to show you. Thank you very much.